Hello everyone, my name is Brendan Snyder. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds number 72. This one here is a supercharged episode. I've got 31 CDs to go through with you along with 2 box sets, a record, and more than even that. So stick around for that, but before we get into it, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please click the button. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by subscribing, you'll be able to stay up to date on all that's going on in the world of music, just like this with New Music Finds episode number 72. And as I said, it is supercharged. I ordered stuff, I got new stuff in the mail, I hit up record stores, so the loot was just massive this past week. Wasn't intended, wasn't planned, and I'll go through all that with you. As always, we kick off with brand new releases from this past Friday, July 1st. Municipal Waste. If you're looking for some good old school 80s thrash, this band does it. I think they've been around like 20 years now. They've been around for some time, but they are newer generation thrash metal. And this album here, I can't say enough good stuff about it. It's really good. It's got 14 tracks. I think it's right around the 30-minute mark. Songs are not very long, but it is classic 80s thrash like Overkill, Exodus, that sort of vein of stuff. If you like those bands, you're going to love this. So, all right, now into some other stuff. I had also ordered some stuff, got it through Amazon and things like that. Here's one that was really cool. Gentle Giant 3-piece suite. It's a compilation collection of Steve Wilson remixes from the first 3 albums, which you can see that they've done there on the pieces of furniture in it. So 11 tracks on here, but all of these are the Steven Wilson remixed versions. Really cool. Totally was not expecting how good this was going to be. I just like the way Steve Wilson does his remixes, so I picked it up. I have been listening to more and more Gentle Giant, but not really getting into the earlier stuff. Definitely liking the older stuff. This here was a surprise to me, so I may have to go back and check out those first 3 albums again, see where they now fall in my taste. All right, next up, Peter Frampton, The Art of Control. This one here has been out of print for some time. It's a music on CD edition. 9 tracks, nothing bonus on it. Fully rooted in the 80s. Very cool. I like how they do it because they literally match everything up from the original pressings. This is an A&M Records version of it, and good stuff there. Next one up, Bachman Cummings Songbook. This one here is pretty cool. So this one here has Randy Bachman and Burton Cummings, both of which were part of the Guess Who. It's got Bachman Turner Overdrive. It's also got Burton Cummings solo on here. So it's got tracks like Laughing, These Eyes, American Woman from the Guess Who days. It also has Share the Land, which is after Randy Bachman left. Then it's got on here the Bachman Turner Overdrive material like Taking Care of Business, Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. But it's also got on here Burton Cummings solo stuff like My Own Way to Rock and stuff like that. So 19 tracks on here. Very cool package. Was glad to get a hold of that. Been actually looking for that for a while. And suddenly saw that it's either back in print or somebody's selling new copies again. But I got it as a sealed one, so that was cool. Jeff Beck, There and Back. You'd seen in a couple other videos, I've been getting into some Jeff Beck. This one here, a 1980s album. Definitely enjoying that 80s period. I picked up Flash. You saw that last week. And I also picked up this 5 CD box set of his, one of those $20 ones. And it's got the albums Rough and Ready, Jeff Beck Group, Blow by Blow, Wired, and the Jeff Beck Group with Jan Hammer Group live. So no bonus material on any of that, but and they come in the little paper sleeves. I haven't opened it yet. I'm going to open it soon, but you'll see from this, I've just got so much stuff I've been going through. So, and then this one was the real cool big find that I found recently that you saw in New Music Now. Loudness box set on the prowl, 4-disc set, 3 CDs, 1 DVD. First disc is what they're calling a lacquer master. mix of the album. That one's cool because it's much warmer. It's the one that they cut for vinyl, and they use that for the CD on here. So different mix. Then we've got one here called a TV mix, which I didn't know what to expect from that. Turns out they removed the verse from it and they just keep the chorus in it. So you hear all of the guitar stuff and the craziness that goes on within the song, and then they just come in with that chorus. Kind of interesting. Don't know if they used it for TV or not. Then we've got on here the drum-oriented demos. That's the third disc, and it definitely has the drums much louder up front within it, kind of a thing. So that's very cool. And the DVD, which has live and music videos on it. Cool book that also comes with it. I have opened it, just got this version of it here, or the plastic back on this thing. Okay, so then I made 4 trips to a new record store, Sound Exchange. This place in Wayne, New Jersey, just amazing. I would go there, find stuff, buy it, come home, turn right around, go back for the stuff that I didn't get, saw new stuff, and it just kept happening. I mean, it took 4 visits to feel like I finally had gotten through everything in that store, and I just found some great stuff each time. So the loot that you're going to see coming here is now in 4 groups based on the visits that I did. First thing up, Styx, a best of 73 to 74 18-track Japanese edition, and it's got, or it covers, I should say, the second, third, and fourth album. Not sure why it didn't include the first one. They were all on the wooden nickel label. Maybe they just didn't feel like that was part of their sound at the time and they wanted to focus on the other 4. But I like what it does, which is it gives me a much better appreciation for that earlier material, and especially the performances by James Young. He sings so much on the early stuff. I kind of wish he had done more of that later on within the band. And even on the new album, he sings part of one song and that's it. He otherwise does not do any lead on the other tracks. So loving that this compilation here because they really focus on his material. All right, next up, Greg Lake Maneuvers, 1983 second solo album for him. This is a Rock Candy Records album. A lot of these were such great prices too. I mean, the Japanese ones were like $30, but they were sealed, original plastic, factory sealed. This one was too. This one I think was $13.98, so I mean, good deal in and of itself because it's not even the usual $18 price that like Amazon sells these for. Really good album. I was focusing on it because I recently picked up the Asia album that had him fronting the band live in Japan. He was briefly part of Asia, taking over for John Wetton. So I really wanted to hear what he sounded like solo. I certainly know him from Emerson, Lake and Palmer, but wanted to check this out here. Next up, Hanoi Rocks and Michael Monroe, a best of that's called All Those Glamorous Years, that has material from both Hanoi Rocks and Michael Monroe. Unfortunately, I think it only has about 2 songs, give or take, of his on here. Really haven't tracked it all out, but 2 of them I know are solo songs from him, so it's not really quite the mix that I'd been hoping for. But I don't have a single disc compilation of Hanoi Rocks either, so this works out really well for me. Again, it was a Japanese edition. It's a Japanese, and when I say that too, what I'm buying is not just a Japanese edition. What I really should be saying is a Japanese only album. That Styx album, only out in Japan. This Hanoi Rocks, only out in Japan. So that's really what the fascination is for me of a lot of these that are the Japanese pressings, is the album, sometimes that's the only place they get released. A lot of people have been asking me what's the fascination with Japanese albums, and one, they usually have bonus tracks. If it's like a regular album that comes out here in the States, the Japanese one usually will have bonus tracks. But I'm not usually buying it for that reason. I'm usually buying it because the album may have only come out in Japan and nowhere else. All right, next up, Doug Aldridge, a solo album. This one here happens to also be a Japanese pressing. It probably did come out in other European countries and stuff, did not come out here in the States. It's just the only way that I could get a hold of it. I believe it was 1997. It's got 3 vocalists on it. It's got Cal Swan on it from his previous band where they were together. And I forget who else is singing on this, but we've got 3 different vocalists on here. Let me just quickly open and see because I thought it was pretty cool. You've got, it's all instrumental except for 3 songs, and then we've got Ron Young on here doing vocals, and Ron Young comes from Little Caesar. Then we've got Matt Kramer of Saigon Kick, and we've got Cal Swan on here from Doug's previous band, and I'm completely drawing a blank on the name, Lion. So there you go. Good stuff in that. And the next one up, Vagabond. And so this one here turned out to be really cool because it's essentially TNT without Tony Harnell, and we've got Joran Landy coming in and singing. So very cool lineup there. It's much more 90s modern era stuff. Wasn't quite what I had expected it to be, but in the right mood. I know that album's going to click with me. It's just that middle 90s era type stuff. All right, so then I went back because I kept seeing other stuff. In particular, the thing I was going back for, Roland Gropow. This one here called Kaleidoscope, and 1999. And this one here has Michael Vasara singing lead for him. Michael Vasara, who also sings lead for Loudness on The Prowl. So that was cool, and I wasn't even trying to do that, but once I saw that, I had to go check that out. While I was there, I found this, Timothy B. Schmit, Tell Me the Truth, 1990 solo album. I'm sure it did have a pretty wide release, but this one was a Japanese edition. And again, just something I can't find anywhere else, so I'm picking up the Japanese edition of it to get it on CD. And then I found some cool, what I call catalog albums, but happen to be out of print, can't get them. 38 Special, Strength in Numbers. This was still sealed, $13.98. Has the hit on it, Somebody Like You. Probably had other hits, but there's that. Glenn Burtnick album, Heroes and Zeros, 1987. Glenn Burtnick, of course, would go on to join Styx, so a lot of tie-in with other stuff that I'm listening to. Album's pretty good. Definitely has that late 80s glam metal sound to it, which is what I like, so I was into it for that. Picked this one up, Shaw Blades Influences. There you go with another Styx tie-in, but we got Tommy Shaw and Jack Blades, of course, from Night Ranger when they would pair up, and they've done another album themselves in 95 called Hallucination, which is fantastic. It was supposed to be the third Damn Yankees album, but no Ted Nugent on it, so called it Shaw Blades. This one here, I had a white label promo copy, but not one with all the artwork, so I was glad to get that and replace it. And then I actually picked up a relatively new release, Tigers of Pantang, called New Heartbeat. Has 2 brand new songs. It's an EP. 2 brand new songs, A New Heartbeat and Red Mist. And then it's got 2 re-recordings of older classics like Fire Clown and Killers on it. So that was cool to get a hold of. Well, again, wasn't planning on that, but you get into a certain mood when you're in the stores sometimes and you find things and you're just like, wow. So then I went back, this being my 3rd time, and here's where I picked up a vinyl in here. So Styx, it's a record store day called The Same Stardust EP. What's cool is the first 2 tracks that are on here are studio songs, outtakes from the latest album, Crash of the Crown, and 5 live tracks, and the EP is really good. 7 songs. Digitally, you can listen to it. It's not available on CD, so I went ahead and picked this up, but it was a 2021 release, and glad that I was able to find one, because at the time when that record store day happened and I went around, they were all sold out everywhere. Hadn't hit this store, though. This one was new to me. Again, Sound Exchange, Wayne, New Jersey. Don't forget it. Really, really good. Picked this one up. Best of Yes, from 1970 to 87, it says, so it doesn't cover the entire career, but it does have 1 track or so each from those 8 albums you see on the front, and it's just a different take on it. I've got all the albums. I actually have multiple best ofs, but it's just another way to put something on that's like a slightly different way of hearing the band, and I like that. So was getting into Loudness. I had some Loudness last week. I got this Loudness box set here. Picked this one up, The Law of Devil's Land, Japanese edition of the album, meaning not like their American or European edition. This one here, fully made just for Japan, as you can see. I mean, it's actually got Japanese writing right in the titles of everything on here. No English lyrics on the inside or anything like that. But good stuff on it. I had 1 album I didn't have. I think I'm still down 1 album, meaning maybe their very first one, kind of a thing. So I like to wait until I see these things. I don't need to search them out immediately. Sometimes that they're more fun to find them in the stores as you're going, and they have such a big catalog anyways that I'm okay with that. Here was one that I had seen, and I didn't think I'd be interested in it, but the more I thought about it, I didn't want to pass it up, so I went back and got it. Mayfield, and that is Kurt Smith on the front from Tears for Fears. When he went solo, this is what he did, and it turned out to be really good. I just was so surprised by this. Seeing if there's a year on the back of it, I'm not seeing it, but this had to be very early 90s era. And so it's just one that, like I said, I listened to a bit when I was in the store the first time. didn't think I'd be interested, put it back, kind of thought about it, said, you know, I should go back and get it. It was $13.98, so I mean, it was a good deal, but the album is out of print. That was still sealed, brand new, factory sealed. I mean, that was kind of the thing. A lot of these, it was like, wow, the album's out of print. This is factory sealed, not even used, and it's still only $13.98. Kind of blew my mind for a lot of these things. Also went back for this because I picked up that first Timothy B. Schmit. I knew that there was this one here, Expando. This is a later era solo album from the 2000s. In fact, if I can see the date on it, 2009. So haven't really dug into this one too much, but enjoying that one. I know I'm going to want more, and then I can really deep dive into that. And then this one here, I'd seen this one actually 2 or 3 times before I picked it up. Finally decided to take a chance on it. Deep Purple Powerhouse. So a Japanese replica, you know, vinyl of it, but of course on CD. And it was recorded, I think, to be added in with Machine Head, and then for whatever reason they didn't release it as a packaged thing. But it has 2 studio outtakes, Painted Horse and Cry Free, and then it's got 4 live performances, Hush, Ring That Neck, Child in Time, Black Knight. So 6 tracks on it, bookended by those outtakes on it. And the outtakes are very different. The first one's got, you know, harmonica and stuff in it. It doesn't quite even sound like a Deep Purple track, but it's cool to get those songs that aren't available anywhere else. Cry Free has been reissued. That was an outtake from the In Rock time frame, so it has appeared on that. But I like to get the original albums that these things appear on. All right, 10 from the 4th visit. If you can believe that, I got those ones 3 different visits, and then I go back the 4th time and I find 10 things. So I mean, pretty crazy. All right, Extreme Running Gags. So I had gone in and picked up a Deep Purple album and then opened it when I got home because it was factory sealed, and the booklet was all crinkled inside, you know, from the tabs that had been crushed in there. And so I went back and exchanged it for this one, which is pretty cool. It's got 5 tracks on it. It's got a remix of 1 song. It's got a studio outtake, 3 live tracks. They never released a live album from back in the day. They've got one currently, but you know, it sounds much different when you're playing arenas versus playing clubs. So Steve Vai presents Western Vacation. So this was a project of a bunch of former Frank Zappa guys or side guys. They got together and made an album, and Steve Vai does play on 1 track, but he really is just putting it on his label and putting it out there. But the stuff's really good. If you like Steve Vai's playing, you'll like this. It's more of the jazz rock stuff. I'm told it sounds like Al Di Meola, of which I want to look into now, but that's what it was referenced to me as. But I was buying it for the relation to Steve Vai. I really like the album. It's very good stuff on it. Next up, Rick Wakeman, Criminal Records. So 1977 album, again, A&M Records, out of print, still sealed in plastic. This was a reissue from 2017, so it's 40th anniversary, but it's already out of print. So 5 years later, was able to get a hold of that. Really enjoying that. You guys know I'm a big Yes fan. So just one more thing I can get and have in the collection and enjoy. Phil Lynott, Yellow Pearl, compilation album from 2010. Has 20 tracks, covers both albums, but it's also got some single mixes. It's got some tracks from like that he, you know, guested on Gary Moore's album. It's got something on here from his days with Grand Slam. So what's interesting though is I went online and looked up, this is a European import that on Amazon brand new is selling for $38. I got this thing for $13.98. So I mean, pretty cool stuff there. Now here's the one that really surprised me that I've been listening to more than anything here. Captain Beyond, Lost and Found, from 72 to 73, 10 tracks, all demo recordings. First track, Uranus Highway, is a previously unreleased song. It also has the song Icarus, which wouldn't turn up until later on Dawn Explosion. But the rest of the tracks are from the first album here. It does have this cool, nice write-up on it. Also, when you open it, you get the full artwork there on it. The sound quality is really good on this, far better than I was thinking it was going to be. And I really like the performance of these, even better than the debut album. There's just more power to this on it. Here's one that was recommended to me because they were playing some Nectar in the store. Remember the Future. I've never bought any of their stuff. It's got 2 tracks. They're long songs, 1640 and 1858. But it also has 2 bonus tracks on here as well, first time on CD. I'm really enjoying this. I have to look more into Nectar now based on that, but I totally wasn't expecting it. And here was the big find of this visit, which was finding this Graham Nash Innocent Eyes 1986 solo album. Full on 80s fluff and flair about the album. I know a lot of you probably don't like it for that exact reason. Very different than any of his folk stuff and the folk rock stuff that he was doing of the early to late 70s, and of course with Crosby, Stills, and Nash. But I love the 80s, and I love the sound of the 80s. So for me, that was a great album to get. And of course, I can go back and listen to its more classic stuff, which I do enjoy as well. Poco Legacy, same reason, 1989 album, very well produced for that era, very different than the early 70s era that Poco was famous for. But I'm loving it. So, all right, Robert Plant, Fate of Nations. This one here, just hard to come by. Had it back in the day, got rid of it, bought a box set that they don't come individually in, and have been wanting to replace them in jewel case versions. And that was just one that I haven't seen. I was super excited to find it. Same thing for this. Rolling Stones, Made in the Shade. Just a compilation, nothing special about it, but it's out of print. I've wanted it for the collection, and I finally got it. It's 10 tracks, and it's just got a really great selection that's on here. Kicks off with Brown Sugar, goes into Tumbling Dice, then the song Happy, and it's just, from there, it just goes through. So it's also got a cool album cover. And so as the more part of this, when I was there, they gave me a shirt, which you guys have seen. I've worn it a couple times, but I wanted to point it out. Sound Exchange, I actually really like it. I love ones that are just very simple on the front, and then the back of it has something, bigger picture-wise and so forth. So Wayne, New Jersey, records, tapes, and CDs, and they certainly do have all three. And then this, not the CD, but the holder that's in here. I just happen to have a duplicate, an original Atlantic Records version that I replaced by Rock Candy Records. So I asked if I could buy one, and they just gave me one of these. And I locked in my CD, and now I've got this beautiful, historic, nostalgic piece for my collection. I'm just kind of excited about that. Got some long boxes too, but now I've got one of these. So there you go. As I said, a supercharged episode, 31 CDs, 2 box sets, 1 record, and a couple extra things there to really just make this thing super duper. So, all right, there you go. One more time, Sound Exchange. Check them out. Highly recommended. They are the Wayne, New Jersey store. There's some other Sound Exchanges out there in the world, but check out Wayne, New Jersey Sound Exchange. All right, everyone. Certainly leave your comments. Let me know your thoughts. Do check back every Wednesday for brand new episodes of music. Or what are we doing? We're doing new music finds. I have to remember sometimes. And, have a great week, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye, everyone.